Well, I know Tim and just about everybody else has already covered this story, but it's a big story. And I think I have a little bit of a different angle. And I want, I struggle sometimes. I know when like Tim put something out, you guys all say, well, you should do it anyway. But then the video tanks. So I never really know. But here's the thing. This is what I was talking about over the last 3 weeks now. Ever since, Charlie Kirk was assassinated, the conversation quickly moved to things that were not the radical left. Now, maybe those things will end up being true. Okay. I can't see the future. There's a lot of people convinced that they will be. I invite you to come back and call me, all whatever sort of names you want if they end up being true. But what I do know for a fact is nobody's talking about the radical left anymore. We had a radical leftist attack an ICE facility. We had, in my opinion, a radical leftist take the life of Charlie Kirk. Again, maybe I'll be proven wrong, but that's where, in my opinion, is what happened. That's my opinion, what happened. You can disagree. That's why I like having people that disagree with me. I don't think, I love that. I don't want only people here to be people that agree with me. But now we had another leftist who showed up at a church, a service where traditionally Supreme Court justices are present, with a manifesto and 200 explosive devices set to essentially take out the entire building. We have the manifesto. We know what was in the manifesto. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about, again, the left and their terror problem. Lefty maniac threatened to detonate a tent full of 200 explosives outside of a DC church hosting Supreme Court justices. Now, why didn't he do it? I don't know. A hate-filled New Jersey man, before the annual Red Mass in Washington, D.C., had at least 200 devices in a tent outside and a notebook declaring hate for ICE and the Supreme Court justices who were due to arrive at the Catholic Church, new court documents show. Now, this guy doesn't exactly look like an immigrant, but I don't really know. Louis Jerry, 41, my age, had pitched his tent on the steps of the Cathedral of St. Matthew the Apostle, and allegedly told cops who approached him, "You might want to stay back and call the Federals. I have explosives," according to a filing obtained by the Washington Post. During the attempted negotiations with officers, he allegedly handed them a notebook in which espoused a hatred for the Catholic Church, Supreme Court justices, Jews, and the U.S. Immigration's Customs Enforcement. Demons walk among us. And this is the thing. We also had a church attack at the Mormon church, which was specific to the Mormon church last Sunday or 2 Sundays ago by a guy that kind of looked like this guy. I don't know if this guy was a military veteran or not. We'll have to look that up. But, our churches are under attack. We had this trans radical go into the church service in Minnesota, not that long ago. And people just keep saying, yeah, but let's talk about other foreign countries. My brother, they are here and they are taking people's lives. The cathedral was preparing to celebrate its annual Red Mass, which marks the beginning of the Supreme Court's term, when police discovered homemade IEDs inside of Jerry's green tent on the property. Several SCOTUS judges typically attend the service, but stayed away as a security threat unfolded. According to the Catholic Standard, the official newspaper of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Washington, the Metro Police Department called the bomb squad on Jerry, who refused to leave the tent and continued to tell the cops that he had these devices. Now, I don't know, were they fireworks? What kind of damage could they have done? I mean, we saw what a can of kerosene and some fireworks did to a Cybertruck. He said, "Do you want me to throw one out? I'll test one out on the streets," he asked the sergeant speaking with him, adding that he had 100 plus of the devices. When he told them they were going to forcibly remove him, Jerry allegedly threatened that several of your people are going to pass away from just one of these. In an effort to de-escalate, the sergeant agreed to read what Jerry had written in the notebook, which Jerry had handed through a flap in the tent. The notebook was titled "Written Negotiations for Avoidance of Destruction of Property via Detonation of Explosives," according to the document. The sergeant opened a tent flap after noticing a butane lighter and another object in his hand, which outraged Jerry, who then reached into a bag and told her, "All right, if you want to, we'll do it now." He proceeded to pull out multiple capped vials containing yellow liquid with explosives taped to them and told her to step away or there's going to be people passing away. He was handcuffed after a brief tussle. Shortly after, when he got out of the tent to urinate on some trees. Oh, you gotta go to the bathroom before you start your standoff, bro. This is like Terry 101. You gotta take a leak before you start your standoffs. They're gonna get you every time with that. His massive cache of devices were seized by the squad and sent to the FBI for testing. Now, who knows what was in the vials? Was it Kool-Aid? Was it urine? Was it, some sort of chemical? Was it, I don't know. This says some of the devices were modified bottle rockets with aluminum foil heads and treated in a pyrotechnic solution, records show. The devices appeared to be fully functional, authorities in court documents say. Jerry faces 8 charges, including manufacturing and possession of a weapon of mass destruction. In furtherance of a hate crime, a judge has ordered to be held without bail. Now, I don't know. Oh, here we go. Some of the glass vials contain nitromethane, a common homemade explosive that was used in the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing. Okay, so this was the real stuff. So he had nitromethane and had devices that were fully functional. Why he made a mistake of going to take a leak. Now, I don't know what Candace Owens is going to say about this. Are we absolutely sure this wasn't Israel? I don't know. This guy wanted to, he hated Christians, he hated Catholics, he hated Jews, and he hated ICE. Basically, the marching orders of your everyday leftist. Now, here's a clip from this morning's news.
Well, we are learning more about the suspect that was arrested outside a D.C. cathedral ahead of a mass marking the start of the Supreme Court's new term.
Police are revealing he had a massive supply of homemade explosives.
Bizarre guy Griff Jenkins joins us live outside Washington with the details. Hey, Griff.
Yeah, good morning, Brian, Ainsley, and Lawrence. What's really frightening about this is that Supreme Court justices were expected to attend.
That's not surprising. That was part of his plan. Like, he planned to take out Supreme Court justices. And, by the way, which would have backfired on him, ironically, because I would assume then that we would have 7 Republican Supreme Court justices, ironically. So had he carried out this attack because he didn't like Republican Supreme Court justices, he would have gotten 7 of them.
This annual Red Mass, which marked the start of a new...
Although I don't know if all the Supreme Court justices attend. Perhaps, Ken Joddy probably doesn't attend a Catholic church.
Supreme Court term and honored the judiciary.
Here are the devices. We have a Walmart bag. Now, 200 devices could have been 500 or, 175 bottle rockets that would do nothing. But he did have other devices.
A 41-year-old South Jersey man named Louis Jerry arrested on the cathedral's steps with more than 200 homemade explosives. They included Molotov cocktails and vials containing nitromethane,
there you go,
a compound used in the Oklahoma City bombing. Now, court documents show that Jerry threatened to detonate the devices and handed officers writings expressing anger towards the Catholic Church, the Supreme Court justices, members of the Jewish faith, and get this, ICE. When officers told the man they were going to forcibly remove him, the court documents also say that he responded by telling cops, several of your people are going to die from one of these. Now, D.C. police said in a statement, during the arrest, officers observed multiple suspicious items, including vials of liquid and possible fireworks inside of the suspect's tent. Okay, the fireworks thing I don't really care about. You can turn fireworks into, you can tie a bunch of sparklers together and have bad things happen. So, I mean, I don't think you want to sleep on that, but he clearly went on to make the nitromethane and all other stuff that could have caused a serious amount of damage. The suspect is preliminarily charged with unlawful entry, threats to kidnap or injure a person, and possession of a Molotov cocktail. The investigation is ongoing. Reports say that security threat actually prevented the justices from attending, and now that suspect, Louis Jerry, is being held without bond, facing multiple charges, including possession of a weapon of mass destruction in furtherance of a hate crime. Guys?
That is nuts. Thank you.
Is it, though? Is it even that nuts? I mean, this is what the left is doing. Can we start talking about the left again, please? Can we start talking about the radical left, please, again? Can we stop tuning into our daily days of our days of our goys or whatever the show's called or whatever? I don't know. Like, can we worry about the radical left that is right here in the country right now, please? That are, attacking ICE officers, that are, firing rounds off into ICE facilities, that are rioting in Portland, that are, by my calculation, radicalizing people like Tyler Robinson to take the life of Charlie Kirk. While we're talking about other foreign countries nonstop, like, these people are taking lives. What if this guy had detonated that and taken out an entire church full of people? You know what I mean? Like, where are these people getting radicalized? And, you want to find, hey, if it's a foreign country, then we can do the Rocky meme and grab hands. And you can if your most hated foreign country is the one radicalizing these people, we can be together on that. I'll talk about them after they're radicalized. You can talk about how they got radicalized. But for the time being, we have large amounts of these lunatics that are leaving manifestos that are telling us exactly why they're doing what we're doing. And people are saying, well, that's not why they did it. It was this other country. If that's true, cool. But like, this guy was against the Catholic Church, Supreme Court justices, and Jews. He was a radical leftist, most likely. Not every one of these lunatics is a radical leftist. Like the guy that soldier that took out people who were just eating their dinner that past weekend. I think it was the day after the church incident or the day before. That guy was a soldier with PTSD that chose the absolute worst way out. This guy obviously seems to be very politically motivated, to have a problem with ICE, the Supreme Court justices, the church. When are people going to wake up and stop letting our narrative be distracted from these people who are, taking our lives and doing it right now in the open and telling you why they're doing it? Little less time on conspiracy theories, which are fun. Little more time on conspiracy fact, which is the radical left is taking our lives and they have to be stopped. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're informed by it. We'll talk to you again real soon.